Hey everyone, I'm Joanne Ragudo, and welcome to This is Construction. Welcome to episode 2 of This is Construction. It's going to be a bit longer than episode 1, with more info on what I'm working on right now. And I'm going to start out with a little background on me and my experience in construction. So let's get started. I grew up in a masonry family. My grandfather came to the USA from northern Italy in the early 1900s, settling in Portland, Oregon. He worked to send money to bring his wife and 2 sons here, and my father was the only member of his family to be born in the country. My grandfather worked setting tile and doing mosaic work. My dad and one of his brothers worked in the masonry industry. My elder brother was a tile setter and later a tile and stone contractor. My younger brother trained as a stone fabricator, and then he had his own slab shop for around 20 years. I did 2 apprenticeships as a member of the Bricklayers and Allied Crafts Local Number 1 in Portland, Oregon. My apprenticeships were for tile setting and marble masonry. My nephew worked as an equipment operator for 2 decades, and my niece even dipped her toe in the masonry waters. And that's why I am understandably passionate about the construction industry and the people who work in it. So with that in mind, I'd like to expand on what I said in the elevator pitch and give you a larger picture of what I want to do with the podcast, and also to tease some future episodes that I'm working on. So what am I working on right now? I've been learning about a specialty of the plasterer's trade called scagliola. It's a decorative finish that uses gypsum, either a regular gypsum or another type of gypsum called selenite, pigment, and binders to create what appears to be marble. But it's actually more versatile, at least I think so, than natural stone in some ways. It's an old material that has hundreds of years of history, but sadly is in decline. This is actually a material that I want to learn to use in my own personal artwork, and it will also be the subject of episodes in another podcast that's in pre-production right now. This is Construction, and the other podcast will have crossover episodes. I want the Scagliola episode to drop after this one, and it may need to be short, as I'd like to have some Scagliola artists on in a subsequent longer episode for this trade. I also need to find people in the USA who know about or work in Scagliola, especially for restoration work. Modern stoneworking techniques and equipment have pretty much made ornamental scagliola obsolete, but there are some artisans around the world who are keeping it alive, and I would like to have become one of those people, as I have some stone art that I want to use scagliola in. I also have some projects in mind that I'd like to do 100% in scagliola. And speaking of plasterers, I have a series of podcasts planned for the plasterer's trade and specialties. I will be doing at least 1 on-location shoot in the next couple of months, and at least 4 episodes for this trade. The first episode will be an overview of the trade and its specialties, its history, how apprentices are trained, materials, etc. The Bricklayers and Allied Crafts Union has a special place in my heart. The BAC Local 1 in Portland, Oregon has been a part of my life for the better part of 50 years. My dad was a BAC member, so was my paternal uncle. Both of my brothers were BAC members at one time or another. I did 2 apprenticeships and tile setting and marble masonry through the BAC, and I'll have a pension from the BAC once I'm old enough to receive it. I am fully open and honest about my ties to the BAC and my support of the construction trades labor unions in general. So, with that disclosure out of the way, I want to do a series of podcast episodes about the masonry trades in general, but also about the BAC. I'm biased and I admit that bias. But I've been around the block, as they say, and the stone workers and tile setters with the best training, in my experience, have all been trained by the BAC. This is a series. This series will be similar to the ones that I will be doing for the Plasterers Union, as far as an overview and then subsequent episodes for the trade specialties. The BAC encompasses tile setters, cleaners, caulkers, and pointers, stonemasons, marble masons, terrazzo workers, and bricklayers. The bricklayers have subspecialties such as laying block, doing refractory work, etc. You will no doubt have noticed that this episode is pretty trades union focused, and as I noted in episode 1, the elevator pitch, I am 100% pro-union. However, non-union trade workers and businesses are also welcome on the show. I'm concentrating on the labor unions right now because these are the trades organizations that I am familiar with. You will also notice that the trade unions that I'm focusing on right now are what we call the trowel trades. And no, I haven't forgotten about the cement masons. Yeah, they're going to have a series on the show as well. I mean, where would we be without cement products? Like the different types of concrete. And did you viewers and listeners know that there are also a specialty for decorative concrete? Stamped concrete, cast concrete, sculpted concrete, and the list goes on. Concrete. It's not just for the structural stuff. One of the broad categories that cover most, if not all, of the construction trades are finishes. Finishes are surface treatments that can be used as decoration as well as protection for a given surface. Think paint, ceramic tile, plaster, stamped concrete, and mosaic, among other finishes. There is one mosaic artist who I've contacted so far, and she has agreed to be a guest on the show. I've known her for quite some time, and her work is just beautiful. But there are also some other mosaic artists who I'd like to have on the show as well, and they work in different styles and or with different materials. As I mentioned in the decorative finishes section, I've contacted a mosaic artist who's agreed to be a guest on the show. I have also contacted a sheet metal worker who has agreed to be a guest. She's been working in sheet metal for quite a while, and she might actually have already been journeyed by now. I think that people will be interested in hearing their stories and learning about their journey in the construction trades. Anyway, that's about it for this week's episode. My schedule for the podcast right now is for new episodes to drop on Saturdays, although I may shift that to Sunday. So if you like this episode and want to see more, like and subscribe, and if you're on YouTube, also click the bell so you'll be notified of new episodes as they become available. If you want to listen to the audio-only versions, the podcast is available or will soon be available on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Listen Notes, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, and I'm also working on getting it distributed on Stitcher and SiriusXM as well. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have any suggestions for construction trades or specialties that you'd like to see me feature, go ahead and send me an email at ragutojoanne@gmail.com and put "This is Construction Suggestions" in the subject. More information can be found at the podcast website, thisisconstruction.net, and I've put links in the description if you're watching on YouTube, as well as in the show notes if you're subscribed to any of the audio channels on the show's website. As always, thanks for watching or listening. Have a great day and go out and build something beautiful.